What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're talking about another Dumont fragrance that I can't place what this is similar to. It's got this rich sweetness that's just so delightful. For being a fragrance loaded with spices, it's not crazy spicy like you would think. This is actually a beautifully rich, sweet, spicy, almost gourmand-like fragrance from Dumont. We're talking about Soprano Soul. Now, this was sent to me by the good folks over at Perfume Box. Definitely check them out in the link below. There's also a discount code if you want to check out anything from Dumont or any designer or niche brands, Lattafas. They got a little something for everybody with competitive prices right along with all the other discounters online. So definitely check them out below. Now, them sending this my way has nothing to do with what I think about the fragrance, but I am appreciative nonetheless. So let's dive into this review. Stay tuned. Quickly, we'll take a look at the bottle. It has this brown colored glass. It's the Finucci line. That is the logo for the Finucci line. You can see that kind of almost dusted, faded gradient look to the label. It says Soprano Soul. Information on the bottom. The cap does hold into place, but still wouldn't trust it all that much. It's plastic cap with a decent atomizer. But as far as this scent, oof, the fan just blew it towards me. We're actually going to give it a spray on hand. This is quite nice. It actually comes across a little fruity in the opening, even though there's no real fruity notes. I'll have the notes on screen. It's almost like this syrupy, rich, sweet tone. It's real ambery. There's this black amber note. So it is a dark, like sticky amber, sweet, almost caramel-like sweetness as it dries. And you do get the spices here. They list cardamom and a few other spices, but it's not one that I would call like just a super spicy fragrance. This is kind of like a spicy gourmand in many ways. It's very delicious and enticing, and it's familiar. I just can't quite place it. I'm sure it takes inspiration from something. Nowadays, most fragrances do, but it doesn't. I can't like pinpoint something that smells like identically or exactly, but if you just judge it for what it is, the quality here is decent. Now, I wouldn't put it on the level of their Beau Rouge line, but I would definitely put it above the, kind of on par with the Bravanzo line and above the quality of the Nitro line. Kind of where I put the way they come across to me, because I've tried a few from this line now. Dumont, they just put out good stuff. They just do. This ambery, spiced, sweet tone, a little bit of woods, just a little sprinkle of some wood chips on top of the fire that is this rich, sweet, spicy fragrance. Again, I'm not a gourmand guy, and I wouldn't call this through and through a gourmand dessert-like fragrance, but there's something delectable about this aroma. It's quite enticing. It's definitely a cooler weather fragrance. It is not well suited for the high heat, but it does smell really good. Now, as far as performance, as with a heavier, richer, sweeter, spicy fragrance like this, you would expect some pretty good staying power, right? You definitely get that 8+ hours longevity easily and beyond. And then the projection here, I would say, is kind of moderate, maybe a little bit better, but we're going to just go ahead and class it at moderate, kind of arm's reach-ish type stuff, like right in that average realm. But the sillage here provides some consistency, because when it calms down from that projection, it doesn't tone down so much from what you get early on. Obviously, it's not going to stay just as strong in the opening as it is in the dry down, but it doesn't lose a lot. Like the shine off the apple doesn't come off easily. I would say it kind of falls into that moderate sillage range as well, where it's constant reminders that it's there, not overwhelmingly pungently strong, but not faint light whiffs on occasion. Pretty consistent. Across the board, I would say it's a very consistent type of performance, from the lasting power to the pushing power to the scent bubble and trailing abilities of this aroma. I think the richness really plays a strong role here with the way this is balanced in the notes used in the olfactive profile. It just performs very consistently, well above average. Final thoughts on Finucci Soprano Soul from Dumont. I think this is some good stuff. This is actually better than Soprano Elite, which was a very fruity blue type of fragrance. Very versatile. The wearability is a bit different for this one because I do think it's better for cooler weather. I think it's a great evening fragrance. So very specific. I don't think it works really well in the heat because it's rich and sweet and dense. I think it's every bit of a 7.75 out of 10. Not quite in that great territory, but definitely at the higher end of what I would consider to be a very good fragrance. Again, I can't place it. I know somebody maybe in the comments will be like, oh, it's similar to this. And you very well could be right. I don't know because it's definitely familiar, but I can't place it. But it is a really good fragrance. They never seem to disappoint. I've yet to come across a Dumont fragrance that was a straight up disappointment. Some are just better than others, where this kind of falls, I would say, somewhere in middle of the pack, which it's in a pack of really good fragrances. So middle of the pack here is better than most for a lot of other brands. So keep that in mind. Yeah, I would encourage sampling this one if you can. Of course, there's a link down below if you want to roll the dice. I wouldn't encourage just rolling the dice blindly, but hey, you like what you like. You do what you want to do with your money. I totally get the feeling because I do the same, but Soprano Soul, 7.75. Well, that's my thoughts and feelings on Soprano Soul from Dumont. Thank you for Perfume Box for sending this my way. I do appreciate you guys constantly giving me opportunities to try stuff from Dumont because Dumont has been one of the most impressive houses I've come across in a while. I definitely think they're really putting their best foot forward with some of these releases, with offering variety, familiarity, pretty good quality, originality to their bottle designs. They even have some original profiles, but a lot of them you can tell are kind of inspired by other things. But most of the time, they're not carbon copies of anything. They have different nuances and subtleties to kind of make them walk a different path. And I think that's why I like the brand so much, because I prefer that to carbon copies and direct clones, because that's done to death. If I want to smell like a certain fragrance, normally I'll go after the original. I like to explore more twists and turns and manipulations of DNAs that I enjoy to see what else it could be. And they do a lot of that stuff. And this fragrance, while I can't pinpoint what it smells like something. It's familiar. It smells really good, and that's what matters the most, and it performs really well. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe before you leave the video. And I will say, if you get your hands on Soprano Soul and you give it a spray now, you might end up thanking me later. You never know. Have a good one.